Hey everyone, today we'll be discussing climate change impacts. The goal of today's video is to analyze the stress climate change puts on human societies. In general, global warming will lead to greater competition for natural resources, threats to food supplies, increased risk to human health, and potentially fuel international conflict. Regarding the rising sea level, particular areas at risk include coastal and low-lying regions due to the potential danger of flooding and inundation. Additionally, warming accelerates ozone production and promotes air stagnation, leading to increased atmospheric pollution. Global warming also contributes to the intensity of extreme weather events, ecosystem destruction, and a significant loss of biodiversity. Overall, climate change as a whole possesses a serious threat to people, infrastructure, and the economy. First, let's talk about sea level rise. With the sea level rising, there will be an increase in tropical storms and coastal erosion as well as larger wave heights. All three of these elements will cause destruction to human developments, which is concerning because 10% of the world's population resides in coastal and low-lying areas. Specific regions at risk include Bangladesh, southern Florida, and the Netherlands. In fact, most of New York City and Boston would be submerged if the sea level were to rise by 6 meters. Even those that aren't considered residents of coastal or low-lying areas are still at risk of rising sea level effects. Negative impacts include worsened water quality, loss of coastal habitats, population displacement, and loss of human life. If the ocean were to rise by 1 meter, the amount of land and gross domestic product lost would be substantial. North America alone would lose 640,000 square kilometers, $103 billion, and displace about 4 million people. Next, let's take a look at our planet's ecosystems. In the past, climate change was much slower than what is projected for the future. Human activities are already testing ecosystem resilience around the world. Global warming has the potential to lead to species extinction and permanent ecosystem destruction. Two specific regions most at risk are wetlands and coral reefs. Both of these ecosystems are very biologically diverse, providing a home to a multitude of animal species. Wetlands reduce the power of storm waters by spreading it out, leading to less flooding. They also act as a natural filter for runoff and form fertilizers. Reefs are also important because they provide food for millions of people, bring in $11.5 billion due to tourism, and act as a defense barrier against tropical storms and tsunamis. As the climate is changing, wetlands lose more of the carbon stored in the soil. This dries out the soil, allowing it to be more susceptible to flooding. This also makes it more difficult for vegetation to grow, significantly damaging the ecosystem. Ocean acidification is the main reason why we are losing coral reefs around the world to coral bleaching. This phenomenon occurs because the water temperature is too high, killing off the algae that lives in a symbiotic relationship with the coral. As you already know, an ecosystem is more than just a setting. It is an interdependent community of plants, animals, and microscopic organisms, as well as their complex physical environment. A class of animal species that could be lost are amphibians. These animals live in cloud forest ecosystems that regularly have mist from clouds as a source of moisture. But as the climate warms, trade winds begin to rise, which in turn also pulls up the clouds. This causes the forest floor to get drier and nights get warmer. Warmer nights promotes the growth of chytrid fungus, which is potentially fatal to amphibians. Another animal that is in danger of extinction is the polar bear. They depend on sea ice cover to walk out and catch seals for food. But as Earth is getting warmer, the ice is beginning to melt sooner, causing the polar bears to retreat back into the tundra. In turn, these bears will have to fast and rely on their fat reserves earlier than they usually do. This puts a lot of stress on females and causes them to starve to death. Now, we'll get into our planet's weather. Nothing in the world is more valuable than water. Every living organism relies on this to stay alive. In the future, it is predicted that we will have more intense droughts as well as heavier floods. These weather events are related to shifting rain belts, a more vigorous cycling of water in a warmer atmosphere, and increased surface evaporation. Because of this, we'll have less amounts of fresh water to drink. In addition, the demand for water is expected to rise significantly due to human population growth. Not only does climate change put immense pressure on our freshwater supply, but also our energy resources. Running water is used to power hydroelectric plants and cooling towers and nuclear energy production. We use these forms of energy to try and combat global warming, but if we don't change in other ways, we won't be able to even use these environmentally friendly sources of power. Another aspect of our weather is air pollution. Incomplete fossil fuel combustion reacts to produce pollutants in the air, which results in smog. Global warming also accelerates ozone production and promotes air stagnation, leading to increased levels of tropospheric ozone. This is a lung irritant and also damages crops, buildings, and forests. As the realities of climate change catch up with us, significant change is necessary to save our planet. Some of the damage human activity has caused is beyond repair, but we still need to act efficiently in order to preserve what we still have. Thank you for watching and taking the time to educate yourself on climate change. This is the first step toward spreading awareness, which is necessary to constitute substantial change.